So I'm up here in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in an undisclosed location. One of my favorite spots up here. Actually, I'm on a little hog's back on a ridge line. Over that way is a place called White Oak Sinks. And Cades Cove's that way, about 3 miles. And this is, I guess I'm right in the center of the area where the Sasquatch clan lives. I guess I could speak up. I'm old school. Whenever you're in the woods, you don't talk loud. You keep your voice down. So it's kind of strange to be out in the middle of the woods and talking loud, but I know it makes for better video. So what I wanted to introduce or talk about is I think a lot of people who are aware of my work are aware of the Dogman footage. And that footage was taken with a back trail camera mounted on my shoulder, filming behind me. I didn't know that the creature was behind me when I captured it. But that's the one that, put me on the map, so to speak, with the Dogman community, Dogman research. Even though I don't research Dogman, that they found me, and the rest is history. But there was another encounter that I had with the Dogman. It was a different Dogman, and it was a few weeks later. I need to correct the record. It's been a few years ago, and for some reason in my mind, I kept thinking I went back the next week or so after the event, but I actually didn't go back in to try to get DNA to a few weeks later. So I wanted to correct that, because when I went back and pulled the video, I'm like, oh, this video was shot, in early May, and the other video was shot in late March. So obviously I just didn't go back. But Dave Pilates did ask me to go in and see if I can get some Dogman DNA samples, hair. So I went back into this area by myself, which was not smart. And it's the first time I think I'd been back in there since I had filmed the Dogman behind me on the back trail. And so anyway, so to kind of get you up to speed on this, though it's not as well known as the other one, it is a footage where I made eye contact with it. It made eye contact with me, and I was in fear for my life. I thought the thing was going to jump off the tree and attack me, and I actually pulled my gun and chambered around, and but it never did, thank goodness. But when you look at the footage and then your memory is two different things, and I sometimes I don't want to look at the footage to corrupt my memory, so to speak, because what I remember and what happened and what's on video, it's the same. The video's the truth, but that's filtered through your personal experience and the fear and the adrenaline you're feeling. So things are different. Things on the video were cut and dry, factual. That's the way it is. And there's no, the video doesn't convey the emotion or the fear or the anxiety or the things that were going on in my head or what I was feeling or the mood, so to speak, of the situation. So it's always interesting to go back in a situation like that and look at the video, because the video's just plain. It's just, there's no, it is what it is. Where in my memory, there's all the emotions and the adrenaline and everything going on. So it's always interesting to go back and look and see what actually happened compared to how I remember it. And but I wanted to set this clip up because I'm going to go hit through, and this is the way it happened. You can actually see the Dogman. Explain why it looks kind of funny. Squirrel. Yeah, squirrel, and there's people on the trail below me. I can hear them talking. So anyway, before I lose my train of thought, what I was going to do was kind of walk you through it. Oh yeah, my point. It's interesting. I did have a 1080p, which is considered high definition camera, and I had both the back trail on, and I had one on the monopod, the one I was actually filming the Dogman with. And it's funny, M.K. Davis has mentioned this, it always makes things smaller and look farther away than they really are. I mean, this thing looks like it's small and it's way farther away when it's not near as small as it looks on the camera, and it definitely wasn't as far away as it looked on the camera, but that's just the way the camera makes things look. And it wasn't but about 30 feet away. It looks like it's a lot farther than that, but it's, from where I'm at to a trail was only about 40 feet, so it was back closer to the trail, so it couldn't have been no more than 40 feet because that's how far the trail was. So it was about 30 feet away. It's about 15 yards, and it was up in a tree. Of course, it looks small, and I'm not going to lie to you, it looks small, but it wasn't as small as it looks. Of course, if I back off 30 feet, I'm going to get real small. I mean, I'm standing 4 feet in front of the camera. Am I being snuck up on by something? That squirrel got all fired up. I usually don't get tore up by people, so I mean, coming up here, I walked by several squirrels that just jumped up and looked at me, kept on doing what they were doing. That's a video for another time about the squirrels and how when they spot Sasquatch, they do that, or any other big, wild game, as far as predators, bears, foxes, wolves, that sort of thing. Anything that can eat them, that's not a human usually. They'll sound off like that. One of them spot it, start barking, and let the others know something's going on here. He's going to bark the whole time, so that's fine. So anyway, back to what I was saying. I'll back up a little bit. Now I'm about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 6 feet. I'm like right in the camera. This is 6 feet. Now I'm 10 feet away. I'm not that far away, but look how small I look. And that's just the way the camera does it. So, for you, a lot of people, the first thing they do is, oh, it's tiny, it's a little squirrel, a bobcat head or something. No, I'm having to stand in the camera to get me focused to see, right there, and that's 18 inches. So the focal point of the camera makes everything look smaller. And got a lot of squirrels. Anyway, so I want to kind of go through what happened, and then I'll cut. When I'm at home, I'll do the illustration where I can walk through, and I'll show you the uncut version. Now, one of the things that's going on is this was one of the years that the cicadas were hatching. It was a big hatch out, and so it is so loud that you can't even hear yourself think. These things are just constantly, going, and it's just a and it's constant. It's extremely loud. You'll notice that in the video the whole time. And what I'd done, I'd gone in here, this area. I'd been asked to see if we could get some Dogman samples, even though it was right in the middle of the Sasquatch genome study, and they really didn't want them. Dogman was something they didn't want to. And so David had suggested maybe I could go in there and try to get some samples. So I took a jar of put bacon in it. It was an old jelly jar, and poked holes in the top, and then sealed it and put it up in a tree and put some tape underneath it. And then I put some I took some hot dog buns with hot dogs in them and taped them to the side of the tree, and just stuff to eat. And so I was working my way back out, and I've got a back trail on, and I've got my monopod, and on my right side, and it's extremely thick in here, extremely thick. I mean, you'll see on the video, I mean, the foliage is, about neck high and really thick. And so the foliage was really thick. And so I'm walking, and I see, it was weird. I remember it being weird because you usually don't see things go up. Things are coming down and running away. And I saw out of my peripheral vision something dark black go up, jump up, like it went up a tree, went up. And it was weird, and I kind of turned and looked, and then I saw, when I turned and looked, it took one more, it was climbing the tree, pulling like this, with its front paws or arms, and pulled itself up. And then I came back and put the camera and started trying to find it in the camera. And it really looks funny because it looks like it's just kind of cut off. Like you can see the head and the top of the shoulders, and then it's like at an angle. And what it was doing, and this tree's not big enough, but I'll use it as an example. Once it got to the top, it was paws hung in the bottom of the tree, and he had claws. Of course, the tree was thicker, and actually there was a tree in front of him, and then he was on the tree behind the tree. And so what he did, and this tree was over just a little bit. So there was a tree, and then another tree, probably 7-8 feet apart. And then so he jumped up on the tree behind the tree in front, put his like this and did this. And he leaned out and looked over his right shoulder at me. And so his body is blocked by the tree that's in front. So when I finally find him and look, all you see is from here, he's doing this, and you've got a tree right here. So it really looks funny because he's doing this, and all you can see is from like here up. And it looks kind of weird. At first I thought, is he sticking his head through a portal or something? And I realized, there's a tree in front of him. He wasn't on the tree I thought he was on. He was actually on the tree behind it. And since the tree was offset, he was having to lean out like this and look over his right shoulder. And so that's what makes it look weird. And I start to take the video. I find him, and I get some decent video of him. Not great, but decent. I mean, it's very thick. You'll see in the video. There's all kinds of leaves and limbs between me and it. It's a miracle I even was able, I could see it with my eyes fine, but finding it with the camera is the hard part. And so I did find it with the camera for a little bit, and I was looking through the camera. I was looking through the monitor, which is small, and the sun's shining, and I'm seeing it, and I'm zooming in and out, trying to focus it, and I get on it for a little bit, and then I zoom back, and when I zoom back, I look up, and that's when I make eye contact with it really good. And you'll see I try one more time to zoom in and get a picture of it, and I can't find it. And as I take my eye off it for a second to try to focus and find it, it kind of hits me in my head. What are you doing? What are you doing? Here, I guess the adrenaline kind of started slowing down enough that, I kind of, and it had been long enough, I guess, I don't know. But I kind of came to myself and realized, what are you doing? There's a Dogman 30 feet from you in a tree looking at you. Get your butt out of there. And so at that point, and that's when I stopped filming. I pulled it down, turned the camera off, and at the time I had a 40 semi-automatic pistol, and so I pulled it out. I didn't that time. I still don't. I don't keep one in the right chamber so I don't shoot my leg off. But I unholstered it, reached down and cycled around into the chamber. Of course, it's a steel gun, and when it, the chamber, when the spring comes back, it made a very loud clang. Obviously, I chambered around, and when I did that, he's kind of not, it's kind of hard to describe. You'll see it in the video. He's looking at me, but not looking at me. He's kind of looking in my direction, but his eyes aren't like focused on me. And then when I cock the gun, when I put a round in the gun, that's when the head comes on around, the ears swivel. It's like, he looked like he had a German Shepherd look, and you'll see that. The ears swivel, and he looks right at me. And that's when we really make serious eye contact, because I'm sitting there on him, and he swivels, looks down, and there it is, we're locked. And I tell you, I've told people this before, and I told the story, that it was the coldest look. There was no life in these eyes. It was cold, black eyes. They were just nothing there. He was looking through me like I was a tree, like I didn't mean anything to him. There was no, whenever you make eye contact with an animal or even a Sasquatch, there's something there. There's a being there. There's for lack of a better word, some sort of soul there. You can feel them. You can feel their energy. This thing was cold, black, dark, no energy. Freaked me out. Scared me to death. I was scared. And I don't know if I was scared for my life. It's just the fact that here's this thing that, it's alive, but you're not getting anything from it. And it's just an odd, weird, scary feeling, I'm being honest. So at this point, I realized that maybe that was a mistake. And I'm kind of, and I start running attack scenarios through my head. Okay, if he jumps off a tree and running on all fours, deep breath, center mass, unload. And I actually had a knife on, and I made sure, and I unclipped the knife so I could get it. So I figured, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down fighting. Didn't know if, this gun would be powerful enough to take it down or not. And then, so I was running the all four on the ground, or if he came to me at all, standing up, running, I was just, I was running these scenarios through my head, do this, just practicing. I actually had the gun like this, and, I was kind of like thinking, and just running them through my head, watching him. And then we sat there for what seemed an hour, but obviously, anybody that's been in the woods and had one experience like this where it was a bear or a wild animal or whatever, time just slows down and stands still. And it was probably a couple, 3 minutes, maybe. I guess, I can't tell you. It seemed like a longer than that. We were just locked. And then it kind of like, it's kind of like, kind of dawned on me, he's not coming off the tree, maybe. And he just sat there and looked at me, and I looked at him, and I thought, it's time to, I told myself, move, it's time to go. And so I just started backing out. At this point, I had to go, I went down with the gun, I had the monopod, and I had laid it against a tree. So I grabbed it, and I started backing up. And I backed out as far as I could, keep an eye on it, and then when I kind of lost sight of it, so because I backed out so far, I turned and took off. And I didn't run, but I walked swiftly. I probably walked another part of the area, probably about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile away. And at the time, I couldn't get a hold of my wife. Cell phone service, where she had gone, the cell phone service wasn't very good. And I remember I called David Pilates on the phone and told him what happened and said, man, if I don't call you back in about 45 minutes, then I've gotten out of here. You need to call the police, 911, and I told him, gave him exactly where I was at. And I said, this thing's got me. It was following me. I could hear it. And so after I talked to David, and you can ask David, he remembers the phone call. And, he can attest to the fact that I was really tore up and really agitated and really shook. And so then I started working my way out. And I was in an area It's a 1,500 acre peninsula, and of course it's fed by a paved road, a little one-lane paved road, and then that leads to the main road. And I was getting out of there. I kept trying to get hold of my wife, couldn't get a hold of her, and I was coming out. So there's an old pipeline dirt road combination where they put a underground pipeline that goes through the area, and so I followed it out, and the whole time this thing's giving me the rural escort out. And anybody that's ever been escorted out by a Sasquatch or anything else knows what I'm talking about. It was quartering me. It was closer. Most of the time they quartered you, they're 100 yards or more away. This thing was quartering me to right beside me, and he was about 50 yards or closer, and he was making a lot of noise. So I knew he was there. And I'd stop, he'd stop, I'd start walking, he'd start walking. And it wasn't making, and it followed me all the way. And it followed me all the way till I came out to the road. And I'd finally gotten hold of my wife, and I said, just come get me. She said, where will you be? I said, you'll find me, I'll be on the road. And so I'm walking. So I get to the road. I've still got a loaded gun in one hand, monopod in the other, and I'm, like I said, not running, but I'm walking pretty fast. And at the time I had a Jeep, had the top off of it. She pulls up and kind of circles around. I swing my backpack off and throw my camera in the back, and I get there and I go. Don't ask no questions, go. So she, realizing seriousness, she takes off, and we get to the main road, and and then we're headed back home. And I've still got a loaded pistol between my legs with, my knuckles were white. She looked over at me and she said, I think we're all right now. I think you can unload that gun and tell me what happened. So, I looked down and I'm like, oh, okay, hang on. And so I unload the gun, and then I tell her what happened. And there was a little shopping rob. I said, I think I got it on video. I'm pretty sure I got a little bit of video of it. And so we stopped at a little shopping rob a couple miles away between Maryville and where that place was. And of course I reran it on the little screen, and even on the little screen you could see it. It was just, she freaked out and said, oh my gosh. And then I got, the chewing out for going in there alone and yada yada yada. But that was the one time that I've actually seen with my eyes a Dogman and had an encounter with one. And though it didn't attack me and it didn't come off the tree, it still made me feel, it creeped me out. And so what'll happen, what I'll do next is I'll cut away here and go to my house, and I'll be doing actual footage, and I'll show you. The one is, it's kind of like a German Shepherd. It has a more of a pointed dog nose, and you can actually see the nose in the video. It's I've had to done some steels and blow them up, and I'll use stabilization and denoise and all that good stuff to try to make it look as as good as I can. But it's like I said, it's in thick foliage, and I'm zooming in and out. And I do get pretty good. Few shots, you can see it. You can see the ears, and you can see the snout. There's, the way it's sitting. There's my GoPro's fussing at me. I was trying to do that fancy thing where you have one way and one the other. Like the big dogs. So trying to be, video man. But anyway, I'm not a video man. But long story short, and I say that too much too. But I was there. You'll see it in the video. But basically, as it's leaning back, the tree in front of it, there's a clump of leaves. Unfortunately, there's a big clump of leaves. So basically, the clump of leaves kind of blot the side of the face, so you can see its eye and its ears and the top of its head, but it blocks the part of the snout, and then you can see the very end of the snout. And that's just the way it is. It was kind of looking up over that little clump of leaves. And of course, again, it was leaning out and had a tree. Like I said, there was a tree between me and it. Squirrels just running everywhere. Or while I was talking to, there was a Sasquatch sneaking up behind me, or a bear, or a mountain lion. But this trail right here is used, this is a heavily used game trail. Bears, coyotes, foxes, deer, turkeys. I mean, it's just a hog's back, and it's a narrow gap. It's a through gap between two mountains. You know, that spreads back out, and so, you know, it comes down to, it's a good, just a textbook definition. If you were going to hunt, this is where you'd hunt. And there's a lot of wild game in here, and good place. And it's also right in the middle of the Sasquatch's home area. This is kind of their area where they live, and obviously, you know, a lot of game here. And like I said, there's it's close to a lot of things. It's not very far to Townsend this way. So, you know, this is a good home, you know, it's not too far. Everything's within walking distance. You know, you don't want to stay or live in the areas where you forage and you go stare at people. So that you can retreat here. It's more secluded. There's caves here. There's, you know, not, you know, there's a hiking trail, but, you know, I stand this far off. Nobody comes back home. I'm on top 300, 400 feet away from the trail. Ain't nobody coming back in here. The only time you ever get anybody back in here is if the park is doing bear surveys or something. Sometimes, you know, survey crews might come through here or something, a tagging crew or something, but that's it, and it's very rare. So, or someone's got to go take a dump, and they come back in here and take a dump. But anyway, that kind of gets you up to speed where we're at. And I'll, like I said, we'll cut in at the house, and I'll take you through the video and the rest of the still captures and a little bit of analysis of it. So, you know, so you can see that, you know, to me, you know, why the capture one behind me, the flathead one with the little entity, is, you know, probably more sensational as far as, wow, you know, crazy and everything. You know, to me, this one was a real deal because it was an experience. I had an experience. I saw the thing, interacted with it. And so for me, this is the, you know, if you say what one, even with Sasquatch, you say what one experience through all your research impacted you the most, it was this one. I mean, this one, you know, kind of brought this seriousness of what's going on, you know, and it opened my eyes, made me research and do more study into what in the world is going on out here, you know, because, you know, I had seen something that wasn't supposed to exist, and I interacted with it, and it was alive, and it looked at me, and I looked at it. And so, you know, I had to, there's a big difference between catching something on the back trail, and yeah, it's creepy to know it was back there, but you didn't see it. But when you see it, and when you make eye contact with it, then that changes everything. It's a whole different ball game after that. So I'm going to stop yapping my jaws, and I'm going to eat me a snack and get back to my hike. But I thought I'd do this little video and that way, and introduce this in a nice location up here. Okay, so what I wanted to do, I'm back at the house now, and I wanted to go through the actual video, and so from start to finish, so you can see the whole thing unedited. So what you're getting ready to see here is I'm checking my back trail camera, and let me put this on full screen. So here we go. You can see here I'm checking my back trail camera, make sure it's running. So I've just put out the bait, which will, one of the things was a jar full of with bacon in it, knocked holes in the top. That's where I'm going here. And then I'm coming back out here and showing the hot dog and the tape, you know, the hair trap. So easing through here. and trying to work my way out. It's really thick back in here. You can hear the cicadas, how loud that is. See how thick it is in there. I don't know if you can see how thick, just how very thick it is. Going through here. Right here in a sec, it's where I see it, catch it out of the corner of my eye. No, I take that back. I'm putting the jar. There's the jar of bacon, and I poke some holes in the top. I put it up there. I did later. Something came in, took the lid off the jar, and got the bacon, and I actually got handprints. Got handprints and fingerprints off of the jar. Something with a hand came and got the bacon. So I'm showing you the bacon there. Start working my way back out. Filming behind me a little bit. I'm walking out. There's the hot dog and the tape, trying to get some Dogman hair. So right here, this is when, right after stopping here and pausing, it's when I see movement to my right where that thing went up into the tree. And I saw it pull itself up. So now I'm stopping. And I'm trying to start zooming here in just a second, trying to find it. How thick it is in there. So I'm looking through the viewfinder, and there I find it. It's right there. You can see, I talked about earlier, there's a tree in front of a tree. This is the tree that's in front of it. It's on a tree behind it, 7 or 8 feet. And like I said, it looks a lot smaller than it was, and it's a lot closer than you think it is. So right there he is. You see how funny it looks? Because he's leaning back, and the tree he's on is right there. And he's leaning back around this tree to look at me. There's a right ear, and his eyes right there, and his snout's right there. Here I back out. When I backed out at this moment, I know it's so hard to see. I mean, I can see him just fine, but the camera, where I'm holding the camera, you can't even see him back in there. And this is where I lose him, because I looked at him and then I tried to find him again with the camera. see here I start zooming in, trying to find him. I can't find him again. And I'm zooming on, through that little bitty camera screen, I'm way off. I don't even know where I'm trying to find him. And I finally, this is where I come to my senses and say, what are you doing? Because I can see him, but I can't get the camera on him now. Anybody that's ever looked at a deer and then tried to find a deer in the scope know what I'm talking about here. Still trying to find him. Can't find him. And this is where I figured out that I need to leave. And what are you doing? And I turn the camera off and get my gun out. Here, I turn the camera off. So right there, I turn the camera off. So here I wanted to do a close-up. This is zoomed in, and I've slowed it down. And I've also applied a couple filters, denoise, and a little stabilization. So, right there he is. And, oops. Sorry about that. Let's go back in. Of course, dead blasted thing. Right over where he is. There you go. So as I'm zooming in here, you can see there's one ear, there's the other ear, the eye's right there, and he's black, but he's got a light gray patch over the right eye, and then the snout's here. And later I'll show you still captures, deep blurred. You can actually see the snout pretty good. There he is. You can go back just a little bit there. See if this will go back. No. Here I'm going to slow it down just a little bit for you. Let me go ahead and get it full screen. And this is, I'm just going to slow it down. I'm on autofocus, so that's really giving me some trouble right there. There he is. Looks like he tweaks his ears a couple times there. It's hard to tell. Yeah, his ears just a tad. Right there, you can really see the right ear pretty good right there. Or left ear. Here's the right ear. There, and he's leaning back. It's really an odd position he's in, but he's leaning backwards. So here I want to take you through some of the close-ups, still captures from the video. Here you can see this is the clump of leaves I talked about that was in front of the face, and you have the eye and the ear, and then right here is the snout. And let me go to this picture here. This is a little clearer. You can see the lighter patch on the brow. Eyes right there, and then there's the snout, and in the black and white you can really see the snout. You can see the mouth, you can see the top fold of the nose, the two nostrils, and the little split, just like in a dog. See it there. See it right there. Nose hose, a little split in the mouth. This one you can see his little beady eye. Again, the snout. And that's a real good picture of the eye. I adjust it 2 or 3 times there to get the eye in focus. You can definitely see the eye right there. He's looking at me. This is before he turned his head. After I turned the camera off and cocked my gun, when I cocked the gun, he turned his head completely and moved out a little bit more. So both his eyes were looking right at me. So he is actually a little bit further out, and this clump wasn't blocking him anymore. He'd come over into this area. But there he is. Like I said, he's not, his eye is looking at me, his right eye, but he's not facing me. You've noticed the head's kind of in a different direction. It's kind of like similar to the Sasquatch. They'll not look directly at you, but they'll kind of at a sideways glance and then move their eye over and look at you with their eye. They won't put their face directly towards you. Again, you can see the snout there. There's his eye. And there's his snout. This is just another photo there, you can see. And then this is another good one of the eye. Circle it here. There. This is his eye. See the pupil. And then I've blown it up. Of course, when you blow it up, it's harder to see. As you can see there, and then there's his pupil. So there he is. Like you say, he's got more of he's got the narrow snout, more of the German Shepherd look, what I call it. Unlike the other Dogman, different type. If I had to guesstimate how big he was, I'd say this one was about 6 foot, 6.5 foot tall, big as I was, I guess. Not huge, but not small either. So there is the footage, and there are the still captures. I hope you enjoyed the video. And I hope that it was something that informed you, and it was kind of my experience with these things. And like I said, this experience was more, had more of an impact than any of the experiences I'd had because of the direct eye contact and all that went on with this thing. So y'all be safe out there. Be careful. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.